That's a good start to her resume, isn't it?
How you doing, Brandon?
Been you done right?
Yes, sir.
I watched it. Yeah, I'll pull it up and show you that. Yeah.
We just sit in that building, and then we gave the pictures.
Yeah, so I'm gonna, but I was, there's that. Getting that's all you can.
Yeah, they
They're gonna do a turn check.
But I'm tell you what we paid them.
Didn't scatter.
Very often.
Is it Monday, is it Tuesday?
So, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
It's Monday on Tuesday.
It was 14.
Passes. I thought about the technical aspect.
I feel a little bit. I mean, some, you know, some days I might do that. I'll be
Oh, wow.
I don't know that.
I went out there.
Yes, ma'am.
Which is
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm still not confident.
I don't think because I had everybody in town all
Yeah.
Oh, and on it. The next day, you'd be kind of like step with
Call
the
meeting to order.
band.
Young County Commissioners Board sitting in a regular meeting Tuesday, November the 12th, 2019. It is 9:30 a.m. We'll make note that this meeting was posted in the manner and for the time required, and that all members of the court are present. That the meeting, please stand for invocation. You'll pray with me. Our dear and most gracious Heavenly Father, we're so grateful for this most wonderful country and all of the blessings that you bring to us. We're most grateful for the recent rain that you've sent our way. We know that it will improve and help our agriculture and our crops and our water circumstances. We're grateful for the opportunities that we have to serve our constituents. We ask your blessings upon this meeting and the things that we do. We ask your blessings upon this country, this nation, this state, and this county. We ask your blessings upon those that stand in harm's way, and protect the rights and the privileges that we've come to know and love so well. And we ask that you be with them and all of the decision makers that provide guidance over them and over our Constitution and our privileges, and the fact that we were founded on the foundation of our Almighty God. I ask that you be with us, that you forgive us of all of our many sins and actions that we take today will be in the best interest of our citizens and in line with your will. In Christ's name we pray, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Please be seated. Item number 3, public comments, announcements, and presentations. This is no action item. It's for basically for information of the court or announcements of any activities or things that might be relevant in our community. We have a receipt here noted of our hotel occupancy tax. from the Wildcatter Ranch in an amount of $69.7903. That's a pretty good month.
Yeah.
That's doing great things for our beloved Fort Belknap. Viewed some of that here a few days ago, and it is coming around real good. It looks nice, and it's a great improvement. Also, want to note that the clerk's service counter project is virtually complete, I think. She might call it complete. I'll let Kay, if you wish to say anything about that.
Now, we are ADA approved now in there, and just come by and see it. Looks
Looks
good.
very nice.
It's a good thing. Is there any other announcement or comment that anybody might like to make?
Sure. Congratulations to the Lady Blues. They had a great season.
Yeah,
They just faced a really tough team. And the football team will be playing this Thursday at 7 o'clock at Fort River against Hillsborough.
And it's at where?
At Fort River.
At their home.
At Fort River, yeah. Because they're playing Hillsborough.
Brandon, would you like to say something about your recent success at 4-H?
Well, and Justin Rogers carried those 4-H kids around the country. Y'all know that the last couple of years. That same team is together, and my son Cade was one of them that was on it, but then Boomer Whitaker, Becca Burgess, and Victoria Richards, and we hauled up to the senior district 4-H judging contest last week at Vernon, and they were high team, qualified for state. Top 3 teams qualified, but they count 3 of the 4 scores, and our 3 scores were first, third, and ninth. So Boomer Whitaker was high individual, one of Belt Buffalo, and had a great day. So congratulations to those kids, and Savannah.
Congratulations, Dorn.
Program's good.
Anything else? Okay, we'll move right down to item number 3A. This is a presentation from Graham FFA. I'm going to introduce Jacob Lang. He's the FFA advisor for Graham FFA, and he's going to introduce his participants.
Good morning, thank you all for having us. This is the Graham FFA Agriculture Issues Team, and this contest is set up like a formal debate over a current agriculture topic. Part of the way these students are evaluated is by presenting to elected officials. As many elected officials or groups, stakeholders that have an interest in their topic. Mr. Rogers has seen this presentation last week when we presented to the Farm Bureau Board of Directors. So thank you for having us. The students competed 2 weeks ago at Weatherford. They got first. Last Thursday at Tarleton, they got first. Yesterday, we had our district contest, and they got first again. Wow. So we've been on a hot streak. Hopefully, the presentation is going to run about 14 to 15 minutes. If we could have just a couple of minutes of your time to maybe ask some questions, even audience members, ask some questions just to help us as we prepare for area, which will be 2 weeks from yesterday. So I made them carry the prop upstairs only to find out that our TV must have bounced in the trailer, so we're going to have to get us a new TV. We usually have a visual aid. Leah Holland is sitting back here. She is our technician that usually runs the clicker. So introducing the students, y'all tell them your name from Luke going this way, and then we'll get started.
My name is Luke Holland. Mine is Travis Anderley.
My name is Nayeli Ramirez. Yaneli Ramirez.
Kate Anderson.
Mason Reese.
Okay, so it's a little different stuff than we are used to. Whenever y'all are ready, go ahead.
Hemp. Dope.
Pot. Marijuana.
Ganja. Reefer. Loco weed. Enough! FFA members don't talk about these things.
These are the various terms that refer to the cannabis plant. One form of the plant known as hemp has been legalized for industrial production, not only in Texas, but across the country. Good morning. We are the Agriculture Issues Team from Graham. You are probably like the most of us and wondering, what is hemp? A term to classify varieties of cannabis that contains 0.3% or less tetrahydrocannabinol, or THC by dry weight. While the legal term had not been legitimized until the 2018 Farm Bill, it had been used to describe non-intoxicating cannabis that is harvested for industrial use of its products. with evidence of its use recorded throughout history, including materials made from hemp over 10,000 years ago. Some speculate hemp was the first crop ever cultivated by mankind, with capabilities to produce crucial resources such as food, rope, clothing, paper, and housing materials. Hemp has been the catalyst for man's earliest innovations. If it's so useful, why haven't we been growing it? Hemp and marijuana are tied together. However, marijuana, like hemp, is a slang term our society has deemed to describe the cannabis plant that produces more than 0.3% THC content. It can induce psychotropic and euphoric effects on its users. In early American history, the term marijuana was non-existent, and cannabis was the primary term that classified the plant. Industrial hemp, as an agricultural crop, played a major role in the history of our country, from colonial times to World War II. In fact, hemp was the first crop to be subsidized by the national government. Some speculate hemp was on the verge of becoming a billion-dollar crop. Between 1910 and 1920, nearly 1 million Mexicans migrated into our country seeking refuge from the Mexican Revolution. During this time, anti-Mexican sentiment had become steep, and the term marijuana arose as a negative correlation of its use by Mexican immigrants. In 2018, the federal government changed its stance on the production of hemp, and in turn, our Texas legislature just passed House Bill 1325, legalizing the production of hemp. Proponents anxiously awaited to capitalize on a new crop within the state, while their adversaries are concerned over processing and financial aspects. To present this controversial topic, we will have a roundtable discussion with producers Luke Holland and Travis Sanderly as our pros, and Kate Anderson and Mason Reese as our cons. Yaneli and I, Nieli, will moderate so you, as fellow producers, can decide what trail will you blaze.
Hooked on hemp.
Or
Crush the cannabis craze.
Pro Point 1, cash crop. Hemp production offers not only local producers, but farms across the state an alternative cash crop. A farmer in Young County has limited crops they're able to plant, with wheat, milo, hay being primary crop production with minimal cotton growth. Hemp is given another option for farmers as it can be grown for a variety of purposes, from fiber to seeds. Yield expectations are between 3 to 4 tons of bale hemp per acre. The farmer would store it just as most farmers do in a shed or dry barn, as hemp stock should not exceed 15% moisture.
According to Naresh Bott of the Climate Co-Lab, farmers grow hemp on as little as 1 hectare, which is 2.5 acres as we commonly reference, and are making up to $1,500. Hemp would draw in $600 an acre compared to wheat. If we take the average of $5 a bushel, take the state average of 30 bushels an acre, that only equals $150, which is a quarter of the amount of money hemp would draw in.
Our state loosening what people perceive as marijuana laws, there will be an increase in demand for the CBD oil and production. The Texas legislature has opened the door for hemp products to hit the shelves of many retailers, which H-E-B, Walgreens, CVS, and over 10,000 stores in Canada have already begun to sell CBD products.
Our farmers will be able to produce hemp products and capture revenue much larger than those in our conventional crops. This will not only benefit the farmers, but the consumers as well, with locally grown products being readily available, which will reduce processing and transportation expenses.
Whoa, you are talking all this making money, saying it is a cash crop, when it's more like a cash crater. Con point 1, cash crater. Input expenses for hemp production are much greater than that of our conventional crops. To grow hemp, your climate must be mild and humid. Now that sure doesn't sound like any North Texas or West Texas crop to me.
Speaking of the cash crater, to create a bountiful hemp yield, twice as many nutrients must be in the soil during planting as when the plant is going to be removed. Nitrogen is going to be sucked dry in the first 6 to 8 weeks of plant growth, while the flowering and seed formations will deplenish potassium and phosphorus concentrations. Industrial hemp will require 80 to 100 pounds of nitrogen, 35 to 50 pounds phosphate, and 52 to 70 pounds potassium per acre.
According to the USDA, the state average for wheat production is 30 bushels an acre. To achieve that, just 12 to 15 pounds of nitrogen is all that is required. With potassium being associated to nitrogen use and increased moisture, it runs about the same level. Now phosphate runs relatively close to hemp at 43 to 50 pounds an acre. However, with the prices of nitrogen and potassium, a farmer may be better off saving their input costs and continuing to grow wheat.
According to Russ Quinn from the Progressive Farmer Magazine's January article, All 8 of the major fertilizers are now shifting higher than last year. Significant research has been conducted at Western Kentucky University. Their results showed hemp should not be rotated into a field that was recently used to grow corn, oilseeds, wheat, or rye due to the fact that these are known vectors for disease. Some common diseases include mildew, gray mold, Fusarium wilt, and Fusarium root rot. Hemp is not an alternative. Hemp is a cash crater.
Proponents call hemp a cash crop for the state, as it offers an alternative to conventional crops with large dividends. Their foes deem hemp as a cash crater, as it requires a more nutrient input in a humid climate that may not be found across our state. Let's hear Pro Point 2.
Pro Point 2, chemical control. Farmers will reduce the amount of chemicals in hemp production. The cannabis plant, when seeded appropriately, which is approximately 20 to 25 pounds an acre, will grow quickly and rapidly forms a canopy. The canopy then shades out the weeds, preventing them from germinating. In addition, a higher concentration hemp field will grow much taller, and in turn the seeds will be higher and easier to harvest.
Hemp is sensitive to most common herbicides. Therefore, when farmers choose to grow hemp, their chemical usage would decline. In addition, farmers are more conscious of chemical use throughout their production phase. Chemicals cleave residue in the soil during other crop production, which would be harmful to hemp.
Our opposition was concerned about rising input costs through fertilizer. However, hemp would lower the herbicide usage. There are currently no legal or safe herbicides for hemp. It is illegal for the usage of a herbicide or pesticide for, say, corn or soybeans.
Farmers in hemp production turn back to more conventional methods of mechanical tilling or even mulch to stop the pests and plants. While these processes are safe for the environment, they'll also give our farmers a booster in their public perception in regards to chemical usage.
This just sounds like another hippie ploy for organic agriculture. Con point 2, costly commodity. First, there is no industrial research for our farmers in this state. Farmers will simply have trial and error when selecting certain varieties of cannabis sativa. With the federal government deeming production illegal until 2018, and our government until this year, there is no research for our farmers. This will be costly for the grower and set many behind for years.
It is easy for hemp promoters to say that a reduction in chemical usage is a positive. However, look at the challenges of organic agriculture and our other commodities. Hemp has many known pests that can negatively impact production. McPartland conducted a study that found that nearly 300 insect pests were found on the hemp plant.
Some of the main pests are carnivores, whose feeding induces stem cankers which are structurally weak. Stems supporting heavily flowering tops often break the cankers. Larvae then melt the distal part of the plant, and in extreme cases, the entire plant collapses. Did I mention, we spoke with Daniel Lange of the Runnels County Farm Service Agency about government programs for hemp. He stated there are no subsidies in place, and it will probably take 3 years of experimental growth before crop insurance might be available on hemp.
Currently, hemp is grown legally in other states like Kentucky. As of now, producers would have to purchase seeds from their competitors. Hemp is a costly commodity as more manual labor occurs in production. Hemp leaf harvest requires hand labor. Farmers have worked with technology and precision farming to reduce labor expenses. Hemp production will only make us revert back to more help being needed for the producer.
Proponents debated that chemical control would brown with hemp production, as no chemicals are legal for hemp production. In addition, hemp is sensitive to many herbicides, so chemical usage would decline. Rivals disputed hemp production will result in a costly commodity, as there is no research within the state to guide producers. They also stated there are many pests in hemp production, and no pesticide to cleanse the plants could result in crops getting wiped out. Let's hear our final point.
Pro Point 3, job creation. The production of hemp in our state will boost our economy with the creation of jobs. We currently have grain elevators and cotton gins processing of those crops across the state. But we have no hemp processing plants. With the installation of these facilities, many jobs will be created.
There is currently the installation of a processing facility in Comanche, Texas, just west of Stephenville. Cherokee Hemp has so much faith in their product, they've already began planning and construction for a second in the same area. There is a plant constructed in Whittlesey County, just north of Haljan, deep in South Texas. Before long, they'll be processing plants for our farmers in all areas of the state.
Luke, you didn't include one of the largest plants. A Kentucky-based processor, Elemental Processing, has purchased a facility down in Houston that's 1.2 million square feet. This facility will be not only for processing, but fulfillment as well. Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner has told the Houston Chronicle the projections for the construction alone are to have a $150 million economic impact. The overall economic punch from this facility alone could be $948 million a year.
Think about how much hemp will revitalize much of our rural state. Hemp will be a product that will better connect rural Texas with our urban cities. Hemp will provide job creation.
You have absolutely lost your mind. Job creation in tying rural and urban Texas? Hemp will be con point 3, job challenge. Producers that do grow hemp will have no place to process it, just as you said. How can you expect a farmer in Graham, Texas to drive the 102 miles to Comanche or the 7 hours one way to Houston?
Exactly. Something else our opponents are not leasing is that the processing plants are different depending on what the hemp is being used for. The plants process different for fibers versus the CBD oils. It is going to be a job challenge to unite farmers in a co-op setting with no research as to which way they should direct production to fit the nearest processor.
Despite what society might think, farmers are extremely smart. Technology in our agricultural fields has come a long way. Farmers have worked diligently with precision farming to reduce the need for manual labor. Hemp production takes that away. It takes a minimum of 3 workers to facilitate the hemp harvest, making hemp production a job challenge.
Many of you, local producers for Young County, harvest wheat or hay. Driving a combine or tractor can be performed by a single operator with no need for assistance. With hemp, the entire plant is harvested for CBD oils, while fiber production is much like a salad strawberry. In that, the harvester is driven with a truck collecting the fibers alongside. What's also mentioned, none of this equipment is currently marketed by any of our Texas dealers. If they purchase a harvester, they would be relying on out-of-state companies for parts and labor as well.
Before we close today, let's review what we have discussed. Hemp is a slang term for cannabis that produces less than 0.3% THC. Cannabis production has been prohibited due to the negative effects of a strand that produces more than 0.3% known as marijuana. In 2018, the federal government removed restrictions on industrial production of hemp. As a result, our Texas legislature just passed a bill allowing the large-scale cultivation of hemp. Proponents of hemp production argue,
Hemp is a cash crop that offers an alternative to our conventional wheat and grain. Hemp will draw in $600 an acre compared to the $150 for wheat.
The production of hemp in our state will reduce chemical treatment within our agricultural field.
Our state will see a dramatic economic boost, not only from the retail sales, but from the installation of processing facilities and job creation.
jobs were something the challengers also stated. Their focuses were
Hemp production will be a cash creator to the producers, as there is no current research as to which variety works best, and input expenses are much greater than that of our conventional crops of wheat and hay.
Hemp production will be a costly commodity, as there are no chemicals to be utilized and no government subsidies to offset loss.
The production of hemp will make farmers' jobs more challenging, as there's limited processing available and no current harvesting equipment.
hemp production in 2020 seems like it is inevitable. What trail will you blaze?
Cash crop,
Cash creator,
Chemical control,
Costly commodity.
job creation.
job challenges.
hook on hemp.
Crush the cannabis craze.
Y'all have any questions for them?
Lots.
Is that the end of the story?
That's the end of the story.
I'm ready to hear the rest of it.
Sounds to me like we're waiting on more research to be done before we really know which side stands to be the truth of the matter. So, I mean, this is where, of course, our research facilities in the state that have done such a wonderful job with corn, cotton, and wheat comes in. Obviously, the cannabis sativa plant is going to be modified somehow to maybe account for these negatives. At the same time, if it's truly a job creator, then the free market will come in and enter into it and help that. Who wrote this presentation? Is you?
Supposed to say y'all.
Yeah.
Hey, dude.
Excellent job, excellent job, and they presented it very, very well.
Excellent.
That was great.
No question answered.
Yes, sir. Do you have any questions or anyone want to try to stump?
What permits are required today for an agriculturalist to pursue crop production? Is there permitting required? Do you have to qualify?
Yes, you do need a license, a contract, and insurance, but you can't do anything without a contract.
Who would we contract with?
You would contract with the actual processing facilities themselves. So there's many different ones. Elemental Processing, like we said, will soon be in Houston. Comanche, or not, Cherokee, which is in Comanche. And then there's also out-of-state ones, Hemp Inc., Paragon Processing, multiple different ones of that sort.
How is it transported? Is it transported in bales, loose? Anybody know?
Go ahead, Luke.
Well, if you could either harvest it for CBD or for fiber. If you harvest it for fiber, you get silage fiber, so you can haul it in the truck. Or like, some of them they bale for the fiber since it's hard, so like you can haul it on trucks and stuff, hay bale or something like that.
What about getting it from the field to the barn? What does that look like?
If you harvest it with a harvester, you can haul it in a grain cart like a combine with wheat. Or some of them we watched, they were putting it on a goose tank and hauling it in.
But the primary way of harvesting it here in the state of Texas, whenever we actually get started, is you're going to have to either use lawn clippers or the kit that you can purchase from a Colorado processor as well. But once you do actually cut it out of the field, you have to load it onto a trailer, and then once you take it back, you will actually have to hang up each one by hand to dry it out and have the optimal fiber.
I have a question. I mean, so we, as law enforcement, we pull someone over with hemp, how are we gonna be able to tell the difference between marijuana and hemp? But my guys will probably take them to jail.
That's the same.
Go, Nelly.
Well, there's a description for hemp and marijuana. Hemp grows up to 6 feet tall, while marijuana grows up 4 feet tall. And you have to grow marijuana 6 feet apart, and marijuana has chubbier leaves while hemp has thinner leaves.
Also, the USDA just set out guidelines on October 29th that says that once this is becoming like easier to do, they'll be able to give you a license that you will be able to present to officers to prove that it's hemp and not marijuana.
It would prove it's hemp,
And,
and prove that you have the right to grow
and
hemp.
right that you have.
Once you've actually been tested by the USDA and all the different things that have to test your crop, they will then have to try to work with the law enforcement, and they're going to try to have a system for where you pull them over, you check the tags on the trailer, and it says, oh, they tested, they have 0.28% THC, they're all good to go, you can let them go. Unless they're speeding, then you can still give them a ticket.
Tell him about the process though, the 15 days, tell him more, because he truthfully needs to know.
Okay, so hemp has a 120-day growing period, and you're going to have to request to get tested 30 days in advance. So at about 89, 90, somewhere in that range, you're going to call up the USDA and the FDA, and you're going to get them to come and test your specific fields. And it has to be tested within a 15-day period of whenever you're actually going to be harvested. So once you put in that request, there are not many people as of now. Like in Colorado, one lady is working 5 counties. So it's going to take her a little while to get to your specific fields. But once she gets there, she will then test it, and then you'll have those 14 days to get testing back and then start harvesting.
What's the cost on the testing? Have they come up with that yet?
The tests themselves, I'm not sure, but I know the contracts are $100 and the license is $50.
So they have to carry this, all these documents whenever they're transporting the hemp, right?
What did we learn from the guy that was in Commissioner Miller's office out of Austin? What did he say for Sheriff Babcock to understand, similar to what type of paperwork system?
Getting a driver's license?
No, license, vehicle insurance. They're gonna have it in a system similar to vehicle insurance, hopefully. That way, if you pull over, if I lost my paper or whatever, you can see it in the system.
So my question is, does it look like marijuana?
Talk about the growing process. What did we learn
After
from
it's
the
harvested and
conference?
after it's ready to go, does it look like marijuana? Because if it looks like marijuana, I could see someone, messing with the system and carrying their license, but hauling marijuana.
There's already been a case in the county where the law enforcement pulled over some people that was hauling hemp, and they seized them, their vehicle,
That was
put
a
them in
lawsuit.
jail. Yes, and they got in trouble for doing that, because they didn't know what they were dealing with.
That was an
That's another case of what he's talking about here is The officer's gonna have to be trained to know what to do, what not to do.
That's why I'm asking, does it look,
They'll be having to carry the paperwork, but I did hear on the radio just the last couple of days where there was a
They say it smells the same.
field tested somewhere up in north, might have been Colorado or points north of there, but it did rise above the level acceptable and they had to go in there and plow that.
That's what I was hoping they were gonna tell you, is that that's gonna be a challenge for the farmers. Y'all tell Sheriff Buck, talk about the challenge that we learned. And yes, you may get a hemp seed, but what happens?
Well, there are actually multiple accounts of this happening. In Minnesota, a man bought like 100 acres worth of hemp seeds, or no, it was actually clones. And whenever he actually started planting them, to grow for CBD oil, if you're growing for hemp fibers, you can use any kind of seeds, preferably male, because they grow taller. But if you're growing for CBD oil, you want primarily feminized seeds or clones or transplants. But what he got was a mixture. So he got females and males. And while the females do contain the CBD oil in the trichomes that are on the top, it does not look like a bud. It's more of like strong leaves, like sort of like eucalyptus, but they're much shorter, but it's just the same shape. But what happens whenever you have the female and the male is the female's trichomes at the top, they're sticky, and the males produce pollen. So whenever the pollen actually gets onto the trichomes, the CBD percentage goes down, and that's what you make your money off of, and the THC spikes. So not only are you losing money off the CBD oil, but you're also losing that specific crop. And whenever that happens to a whole field, you can see what happens, double loss.
Also in Hawaii, there's these people that are growing hemp, and since Hawaii is like really humid, the humidity also takes into account for the THC level. If it's really humid, it'll just like grow.
increases, yeah?
What does the seed cost?
Good question.
If you want to buy either gender, it's about $1 to $2. But if you want to buy feminized plants, those feminized seeds are going to run more $5. And then transplants and clones are also very different. Transplants for hemp are, if you want either gender, it's going to be $4 to $5, and if you want females, it's going to be $8. And then the CBG cannabinoid, which is used for the more medicinal side, so it's used for arthritis, pain, used for seizures. It's being researched right now to be a sort of cure for cancer. Those are going to run at about 40.
So you see this being more in the medical side of it than you do anything else, right? And you can take that seed of that plant, and you can harvest the seed, and you can harvest the oil.
Yes, sir.
Is this hand rolled, or can you do both? Can you cut the tops off for oil and harvest the stalk and put it out?
Yes, sir.
When you're talking $5 a piece,
Yes, sir.
$5 for each plant, each seed.
For each, that's for the seedling. For the,
$5 per plant.
yes, sir.
So it's already spread growing plant whenever
It's already germinated.
What did we learn from the Colorado producer at the hemp conference in Wichita? How is he doing it? They went to the hemp conference in Wichita Falls put on by the Extension Service last week. What did that Colorado producer tell you he's doing?
Make lots of money.
What's
Well,
he
the
doing?
Colorado producer was growing hemp in greenhouses, and he was planting them in seed trays, like 123 seeds in a tray. And then once they got to growing, you move them to his field.
Wouldn't that be the better way to do it, since you can control your humidity?
Yes.
Is this hand planted or is it machine planted? Whenever they're
Oh,
transferring.
for the transplants, you have to hand plant them since they don't have any.
Can't use a springer or anything?
Uh,
We're not gonna sow it
Or
like
you
we would a crop of wheat.
Or if you buy the seeds, you can plant them with the air seeder or drill.
Can you buy a mature plant and replant it?
Tell them why they're not gonna do that. Why? Because they don't wanna give up their clones and they're balancing that THC.
Well, once the plant has actually matured, the roots themselves grow outwards and they are very aerable, so they cover a large space. So actually pulling that up and keeping it healthy would be actually pretty hard to transfer it from acreage to acreage.
Plant every 6 foot, one plant every.
That's for the CBD oil, yes, sir. You plant 6 feet.
The plant is an annual, right?
or it's an annual, not a perennial?
It's an annual, I believe. Oh, we gotta ask that, we gotta
Yeah,
double
so
check
it
that.
only reproduces the next season from its seeds that it's,
We gotta double check that, if it's annual or perennial, we gotta
if
ask
you
that.
planted a maturing plant, it's just got a
Die.
specific life cycle that's gonna end pretty quickly.
Is it a native plant to Texas?
No, but it is native up in the northern states like North Dakota and South Dakota.
But it came up from Mexico? Did you say the plants were transported
She said that
out of
the,
Mexico?
Marijuana.
Marijuana.
Marijuana, cannabis.
Okay.
So did they legalize it in every county in Texas? Or
What brought up?
What'd you say?
Oil.
Mr. Hearn has a question for,
What'd you say?
Brought up.
Did they legalize it in
Brought up.
every county?
Texas, yeah.
I know in Colorado, it's by county.
That's recreational, THC.
so far, our understanding is the state says it's legal, so unless the county puts a ban on it, then it's legal. That's our understanding of the rule as of right now.
So Luke, when you said like it's creating job, or it will create jobs, how many do they think it will create?
Well, currently, they don't know that if it's, they suspect it to be a multi-million-dollar crop, so they'll be processing facilities in all around the states, and there will be people needed to construct those and run those.
Luke, tell them what we learned at that conference too, about those women that were waiting, all the people that were trying to come talk to y'all right away.
Oh, there's already people just waiting for them to legalize so they can start making their own processing facilities. There's one in Wichita, some down by Stephenville.
In that conference y'all went to in Wichita Falls, what did they say about seed? Did they sell seeds that day or?
No, what'd y'all learn from seeds? Where are most people getting them from? Even the Colorado guy.
They're all getting them from Oregon.
Oregon CBD. If you get bored sometime, look up Oregon CBD.
They sold 8 billion seeds in 34 minutes, 36.
Yes.
Everything's totally legal in Oregon, right?
Billion.
No, it wasn't billion, it was million. 8 million. 8 million.
And $3 a piece or whatever?
A dollar or two.
They're believed to be the first billion-dollar company.
What's the shelf life? Well, how long does
Good
the
question.
seed last? People get it.
That's a good question. Shelf life of seed, we've not had that one.
Well,
Because we haven't had that one. The front, but in rebuttal to that, most of the guys, nobody's holding on to it. They got the seed that's going in the ground right away to try to capture.
How long did it take to germinate?
Had that one.
5 days. About 5 days.
5 days.
So if it's grown and harvested here, is the CBO prices, are they gonna go down?
The CBD oil prices, it's priced by a percentage of CBD. So you make more money, if you have a 4%, 5% CBD, you're gonna make a little less. But 10, 20, that's gonna be making you the big bucks, that's where the big bucks are. And as the market actually grows, retailers can of course be more specific, say they only want 15 to 20% CBD, they don't want 4 to 5, so then you're gonna have to look elsewhere to see where you can get it processed, see where you can get it retailed and sold, to where you can actually make money off of it. So as the market grows, it will get more challenging, and you'll actually have to be more controlled in the way that you do things.
And that's why, that's why you like to have a contract, so you can have a continuous place to take your hemp to get it processed and for the retail.
What else? Contract, no contract? What else did they tell you? You're probably not going to get a
Good price.
loan? No loan means
No
no.
contract, no insurance, no loan.
So like in Colorado, I know that they can't use banks and stuff like that. It's all cash processes. Is that the way the hemp is gonna be here too? So it's gonna be cash? Or is it because it's a lower percentage, like 3%? In Colorado, it's higher than 3% for CBD. You know what I'm saying? Is that,
They got some cash or going to be using some loans and stuff.
good question.
I'm sure after they're able to have it, where they can start getting the insurance, claim against stuff, like before they start over.
That's what they found is the risk too, and they've learned since then, in the last week, that something we picked up at Wichita Falls is that there's no crop insurance till you get your 3 years to get a yield established, but there's a home policy that they can file with FSA to get some type of minimal insurance for the first couple of years to help kind of offset some loss.
So this whole hemp question is truly a exercise, a laboratory in ag economics and capitalism and how they're gonna work together and move it forward. So if there's profit to be had in it, it will come to fruition. If there's too many roadblocks, it'll slow down and may never happen.
And there was an economist last week at Wichita Falls that said, it's either gonna skyrocket or Texas is gonna hit the market and we're gonna flood it and everything's gonna fall out of the water.
Supply and demand.
That's gonna be the key to it, is how many people get involved.
And there's gonna be farmers that are gonna make a ton of money because they're gonna manage and hit it just right, and there's gonna be a bunch that lose quite a bit.
It's not somebody like the emu bill.
They reference the emu deal up there, that's what they reference. The guy that was, Dr. Calvin Trostel, he's out of Lubbock, was referencing the emu deal, and he kept saying, this is different than the emu deal because you've got your seed, which is one money, you've got the oil, which is another money, and the fiber can be used for more than just like, we stereotype it as like cattle feed or something, or hay, but kids, y'all tell them what all fiber is used for.
That's it.
I mean, what all is fiber used for? Don't look at each other, just start saying what you know.
Well, they use fiber for ropes and housing materials, and the fiber is like a hard wood stock, and 1 acre of hemp can grow up to as much as 4 acres of timber in 60 to 90 days.
They make rope, you say.
They got some paper and all kinds of other.
And that's what they say. They say the paper industry is dreading this because it could hurt
Look
it.
at the relief it gives timber.
Yeah, but what would it, yeah, that's another avenue.
Because
For the source.
1 acre of hemp in 60 days can do what 4 acres of timber do, right?
That's the difference between growing a tree and growing hemp, is gonna be a lot.
Another byproduct of the hemp production is the seeds. The seeds themselves, once they're pressed with the hemp seed oil, are high in omega-3, omega-6, and they're 36% protein. So it's a very nutritious seed itself, and while it's not legal yet to put it in cattle feeds or put it into other animal feeds, once that market is opened and once that's legalized, that will be a great alternative to start growing.
Will wildlife eat them?
What do we learn? Wildlife.
The deer, they said they had problems in Colorado where they didn't see the deer.
Deer eating them? So they get run over a lot.
So you're confusing marijuana and hemp. You got to force yourself from thinking hemp and marijuana. Oh, that's true, that's a happy land, isn't it?
We got asked at the conference if we found anything on feral hogs, and the Colorado guys said we don't really have feral hogs up there, so.
What's up?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not gonna figure it out. They're getting there.
Yeah, it's gonna happen soon.
Grandma, you just talking about those seeds, are they protected variety of seeds? Can you sell amongst your neighbors if you come up for seed?
Are they protected? Can you sell it?
Can you sell seeds to your neighbor?
They have to be registered.
They have to be registered and certified, yes, sir. And it would actually be very dangerous to use seeds out of your own crop because you don't know if they'll be, because they won't be genetically modified, first of all, if you want it to be the feminized plants. So you don't know if those seeds themselves will grow into male, female, strong fiber producers or strong CBD producers. You don't know that just by looking at the seeds.
How does the Texas Senate look towards this? I mean, it's like the Republicans for it, Democrats for it, is it like bipartisan?
They've already passed the legislation.
No, I'm just kind of wondering. I mean, who's more supportive of it? Or do you really know?
We hadn't discussed that yet.
Okay.
What's the legislation that was passed?
The number?
Bill?
13.
Bill, and who authorized it?
1325?
No, that's different. We're not answering. Who authorized it?
Yeah, who authorized it? You know, like you said correctly.
That was the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937.
Texas Farm Bureau did support that, didn't it?
Did support that?
Yes, that's why we went to Farm Bureau. Texas Farm Bureau was one of the cities. And that's what, Mr. Pruitt, I think it's, Republicans were pretty in favor of it, with Sid Miller being one of the ones that were backing it. We tried to get into him last Thursday while we were in Stephenville where he lives, and he said, I'm not gonna be until late, so fingers crossed, we're gonna try to get in to see him at some
So
point.
that was a House bill or a Senate bill?
It was a House bill. Which one, you Nelly?
1325.
Can you use it in animals as well as humans? Oil?
Use the oils.
So far as medication.
I'm sure whenever that is legalized, yes, but what we have found is that the hemp itself is toxic to dogs, cats, horses, and chickens. So that will be a very dangerous thing to do once it is actually legalized.
The profit margin will be higher for human consumption.
Yeah.
You said it costs how many dollars per acre to input costs?
Flat tops.
Input cost.
Did I hear anybody say that?
That was another one we need to work on. Input, what's it cost to put it in per acre?
Input cost is right around $2,000 per acre, since the seeds are costing $1 to $2. And for CBD, they're planting 1,750 seeds per acre, and then that would be just for the seeds. And the fertilizers will increase it right around $2,000.
It costs about $2,000 an acre plus. Acre. And now, what is the expected return on that $2,000 investment?
Well, they expect the return to be around $600 an acre after all of the returns.
And it depends on what does it depend on?
Depends on the THC content for the CBD oil, and then which way they're processing for fiber or.
So are you talking net return then, or are you talking gross? If it costs $2,000 an acre to put it in, I don't think I will put it in, but it's gonna get $600 back.
$600 is what?
That's what you're saying.
Income.
Yeah, that's $600 on top of that. So it's-
Okay, well, if it's, that's a pretty healthy investment for $600. Yeah, that's good, very good.
That's a lot of risk for little return. I think it's unfortunate to get these two sets of twins.
You know, that was just by default. Honestly, when we had these twins last year, and I've had Luke and Jake and Leah got in with several of the volleyball girls, and some of the other volleyball girls were on some of our other teams, and she said, I want to be on a team. So I figured if I got one of the family members coming, just put them together.
You get quite a team you put together.
Thank you.
Oh, had a good week in sports.
I was loose.
Defensive player of the week, and then.
Yes. So, and we had this team, I should have said beforehand, yesterday was our district contest. I think we hauled 29 kids in 10 different contests, and we have 7 of the 10 teams going to area. We had 5 first place teams and 2 second place teams that are there. So I warned them yesterday going to the contest, and I don't mind saying it on the live feed if they find out about it, but I warned the kids saying that when we go and we do our job, other schools are gonna hate us. Because when you're good and you're on top and you're doing things right, and I explained to them last night how some of my peers were getting our critiques and looking and, hey, how's it going? I wasn't getting spoke to or anything, but they knew that we were definitely there. So we're gonna go back to working for area contest the 25th, is that right?
Yes. I'm glad y'all could come in and teach us something. I have to ask you guys.
And thank you for that, because that's what I keep trying to explain to them, is they're just judged by other ag teachers. Those guys don't know any more, even close to what these kids know, if they'll just step up and speak with confidence and think on
They're
their
a lot
feet.
smarter than we are.
Absolutely.
I mean, think about it, you got the sheriff back here, guys, that's asking questions.
And a judge.
Yes.
2 judges. So, awesome.
What do y'all tell these men and ladies this morning?
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So just the oil we're thinking, we might be buying now, it's gonna be worth
They can talk more online.
Good job.
Okay, so, we'll look up CBG, because we found out that that's a stronger cannabinoid than CBD. There's over 100 different cannabinoids that are in CBGs that they're chasing right now.
I leave for Colorado tomorrow, so I need to pick up
I think it's all it falls under the same classification.
Just saying.
Don't bring any joints.
I will bring you.
If you have joint pain,
Joint pain, that's right.
Good job. You better. Well, let's go on.
Anywhere you need to reach the,
Farmers are wearing those jackets.
That's part of my life.
I wouldn't make it through the airport.
I still-
Do
you still have
I've
yours?
seen the dogs.
I went away, but I went away from size 36.
It don't fit, but it's hanging in the closet.
It's about this big.
Yeah. It's been a few days.
We were reciting unbelievable feature requirement, we never thought about it.
I know, I know.
There's over 100 different types of cannabis, so each one's different letterings.
So is that in Colorado?
Oh, so what is
this?
Yes, that's what it
Well, that's
exists.
how
They made it
we
nozzle
only-
and
we only four
All the states that
posters, or five
started it
posters.
during, after the 2014
We have to get
Farm
to
Bill,
it.
trying to allow land grant colleges to actually start doing research. They started doing that and they found that specific cannabinoid worked best for the medicinal side.
Last I think it fell over, when we were doing that.
Drug tests, from what
They
we
say are
found,
the
they
only
don't, they don't pass pollen.
I got lost.
And what we also found was that if your crop does burn up, the next time over, that's someone will start on 19 bill all right away, air and smoke, they won't get high, but they will get more into the heck of a headache.
Not like one second.
I've never
No
been to
second
a
hand
hospital
smoke.
like that.
Yes,
When I
correct.
worked in
Question for you, sir. Is there any way I could get either you or her to your product, a letter and send it to y'all and just send it to me? Thank you. All right.
And that was very good. Appreciate it.
Hopefully, we'll do our job, we'd like to see y'all every year with this team, it may not be these kids initially, but just because they get evaluated as elected officials, so I can go present to the board at the hospital, whatever the way the rules are written, it's not this month, they all are. Thank you. Thank you. We, found out 2 years ago, I did Farrell Hall's open warfarin with that baby. Madisonville down at populations are number one problem in the state level. They did states were like behind, with the exact same topic, same stuff. We've since found out that Madisonville is doing this deal this year, and Crum is doing this year too. So
Let's beat Crum.
That's what I'm telling you.
I know she wants to.
Yes. We won't have to worry about those guys until state contest. We got their job area first. But the water goes. Yeah, very. We're in the water. Let's get out of here.
Well, then they did the-
What did you do?
Unplug everything first. I gotta unplug everything. I think, it don't matter now.
It's okay if it falls out.
There we go. So what we don't do with this? There you go. Yeah, no, it's like now, it's like first.
Oh, believe me, did that all the time.
Yeah, I read it when I read it. For financing.
Oh, I do know that. I've seen it.
What that says.
If you can have scientific proof. That's the.
Bankroll is what?
That you see the
Take care of it.
trail of seller.
No, I wouldn't.
Always.
Yeah, we were just interested. It's only the town. Yeah, happy
In that unless you have.
That's a defense, you have.
Well, but you had to have, it's like being in line, if you knew they had that particular chemical in the house and you had to test it before that came right.
If you got a 20-foot trail down the hall and turns left into a bedroom, I mean,
I agree with you, but the scientific world does not see it that way.
Because the house burns, the bottom 18 inches generally doesn't because of the debris falling in on top and stuff.
Unless the fire started down and moved up.
Yeah, good kid.
When you have a fire that's down low and it moves out and then up.
It destroys that evidence on the floor.
Well, that destroy it. You'd be amazed, I can get your DNA off a.
Why are you touching
that you burn.
Really?
Do that again, let me get the.
Jason's so handsome
Alright,
and white, isn't he? He's a pretty man.
It's very,
You'd think there'd be a rapid decomposition.
on the surface, but on the inside, I can take your
Rita, did you learn anything?
I did, they are very, very.
They're well coached, weren't they?
I almost asked a question, and somebody mentioned medical, but I thought, you know, and I'm asking Laura, okay, did that cancer research bill pass? And she looked it up there, and it did. So that, you know,
More public
when you
dead.
start doing it.
I wasn't for that, I didn't vote for it.
I didn't either,
Because,
because of that,
how's that?
you know.
Let the private industry come in, they're gonna make all the money.
St. Jude can treat all those kids and all those people free, and find the money.
Well, how about the Scottish Rite hospitals and the Shriners Hospital, and the same thing that St. Jude does?
Exactly right. Private sector used to be funding that, not the taxpayers.
That's exactly
But
right.
since it did pass, you know, because I thought, I totally guessed.
That's gonna be used as a political tool for favors.
Yes.
Oh, we'll give you a cut of
That's
this
why to
pie.
pass the cash.
Same thing with that flood zone stuff. Harris County, I grew up in Galveston County. We've been dealing with floods for forever, right?
Sure. Where you look, where it is.
Well, I guarantee you. But I can promise you, growing up down there, I watched, they would get some money to fix this flood problem, well, they would only Band-Aid that problem.
Sure.
You know, it never, I mean, it was all done, but yet,
It's like sending humanitarian aid to Puerto Rico and Haiti. Never gets there.
or to Afghanistan.
Afghanistan,
That's
yeah.
not even showing.
It's very frustrating because Galveston, Houston, and Harris County area, they've been dealing with flood zones and areas down there that should have been fixed 40 years ago. They passed millions of dollars in bonds to fix it.
And the bonds have not fixed it.
No, they're still working on it. Kind of like
And they're still
45.
paying off the bond.
It'll show the light when
Oh,
you
yeah.
click on the light.
But see, just like school districts,
So if anybody ever wants, they can do that.
So they
Now,
can
it's
buy
It's been working great.
buses into a 10-year bond.
Right, because they're depreciable resources.
That you're gonna wear out.
In 10 years, they're worn out in 5.
And they're gone in 4 or 5, but you're still paying on them for 10 years. And so I just, some of that stuff.
That's because you got politicians sitting on boards like this and not business people.
Well, exactly right.
It's a few days.
But business people don't wanna waste their.
Why would they want, they're worth more than that.
Well, it's the frustration of people don't understand. I'll give you an example. They built that stadium in town, $60 million. Well, McKinney can't be outdone. You know, they can,
Sure.
you know,
And that's what it is, it's community competition.
now the voters vote this stuff in, but they're gonna go build a $70 million one in McKinney, because they can't be outdone by
Oh, what
hours.
happens when you voted in, you proponent of it, all this kind of stuff, 3 years later, you move somewhere else?
Well,
You're leaving everybody else that bill that you just created.
Well, but that's what happens, is those people's kids graduate. they-
4 years, those kids are gonna hang around and stuff.
And then the parents move, and somebody else is stuck with it.
Yeah, they grandma and grandpa paid for it.
It's unbelievable. There are schools in this state, the facilities are better than some colleges.
And that's,
Yeah.
Should never be that way. We'd be better off to invest in 4-H and FFA,
I'm telling you.
there's the future of the country right there.
I guarantee you.
Kids out there.
Yeah.
but we put less money into those programs than we do in that.
I've told you my state 4-H shooting story, haven't I? Went down to San Antonio. They got like 300 acres there in San Antonio, housing conditions all around. You got 500 kids with shotguns shooting. And then you got some more with pointed sticks that they're launching.
Oh, yeah.
Not a policeman in sight. Nobody running around with their hair on fire. No demonstrations about anti-gun.
Everybody down there is armed. with a
Every kid is the most polite kid you ever met.
And that's why we keep going back.
You should. It builds character.
I was gonna tell you, my boys were in shooting sports, and we traveled all over Texas.
There's a great deal about personal responsibility.
Yeah.
Well, but 4-H, FFA programs, kids are worth their ethic, it teaches them responsibility. Mine were
You know how to get along with other people.
public speaking.
Yeah, I was going back and thinking, man, you know, like, senior executives,
Yeah.
Well, see, my wife, her
first job in education was, she was taught speech communication for the fifth grade. So when our boys were going through 4-H and FFA, we made them be, and not just show them, but they had to be in the, and not just judging people, be on public speaking, radio, because, and now all three of them, they have to speak publicly because of their jobs or communicate.
Presentations.
Right. So that helped build that.
Well, I've told this many times when I talk to groups, I said, any leadership abilities that I have started with 4-H. Put you in a position of responsibility as an officer. Was it good?
Yeah, I remember it being real good. I think they call them Buckeyes now in
Buckeyes?
Ohio or some others, but.
Yeah, but the public speaking part of it is really important. You know, give you that self-confidence to give people, I gotta just tell people what you know, it doesn't have to, you know. You're always smarter than somebody else, you know, about something.
But you know, being able to speak intelligently in front of people, be able to convey a message. It doesn't even have to be just the message that you want to convey.
Yeah, I bet these kids didn't think about walking up here this morning thinking, we're experts in this. We know more than these guys know, so we're gonna let them know what we know.
And for their technology.
Technology did what they did.
They did not.
That's the-
It could.
That's another lesson learned, isn't it?
I thought it could have been distracting.
It's like,
I could remember 3 sentences in that.
well, so, you know, if the screening goes down, what are you gonna do? 'Cause- and I'm like, if someone's looking.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring it back in.
You know, and so, but we have a lot of the younger guys, they want to sing all these songs that are not in hymn. Well, then technology goes in, it's like,
When college.
nobody
I
can
know,
do
that's
that.
why they're coming out with the song that's the same line over and over.
I don't.
That's that, but it's.
I can't.
Are we gonna someday lose how great thou art?
Oh, I love
Grace,
songs like that.
Just as I am, and all those old songs.
No, you'll never.
Not even, not as long as 145's in town.
True. Have we got Baptist church?
Some traction.
Baptist church is a little aggressive now going on. At the stage show. He's just causing trouble.
She's just picking on Travis.
Just arrest everybody with
Picking on
marijuana.
Travis, yeah.
I'm sorry, Cameron. What he said, we're gonna arrest him. That's what he said. He said, we're gonna arrest him.
Well, the problem is the crime lab will tell you, we can't tell you the difference. There's no test out there right now.
And I'm not the test kid, if you test CBD, I mean,
Yes.
won't they test positive for marijuana?
Yeah.
You take CBD, you can lose your CBD.
Yeah, but you're testing for
And
THC.
I put that on the bottle.
So when you, doesn't matter if it's hemp or marijuana, when you test it, it's gonna show positive
See, you're right.
for the field tests we have. So they're telling us, don't do that. And there could still be.
Mine are eye drops I take orally.
If I was them, I would seize it, and they would test it and follow on.
Mine's been,
Oh, yeah.
ours has been tested.
He was on the SWAT team for the police.
But yes.
And they started
Not,
using.
well, I've taken
Yes.
them. Yeah, I think so.
CBD. But they've got a bunch of legislation.
Well, I take it on the plane, though.
You know, this is not what it is. Finally, it's,
I take it
leave them alone. He's not selling.
Sometimes
Well, if it's illegal, they would jump on you because you don't
They
liquor
need
store?
to play for a hip replacement or something about that.
So what do you do with the
Are you ready to go?
Yeah.
city?
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
That changes the legislation.
We've been recessed for about 10 minutes. It is 10:33. We're back in order. We've just finished item number 3A. Quite an interesting presentation. Very good job by the young
Really
people.
do good job.
Like 4H, there's another positive mark on our school system and whatnot, and that's the LFA program.
Absolutely, sir.
They learn a lot about government activities, about public speaking, about being good citizens.
And economics. That involves economics too, tying the two together.
Did you want to do the 10 o'clock bid opening now?
Yeah. Since we missed it,
It's gonna be very quick.
Yeah, we're gonna go to Rita, but I mean, we better go.
This will just
11
take
o'clock bid opening.
very minimal time. So, we went out to bid on a utility trailer and a pipe trailer, and I didn't receive any sealed bids.
No seal bids.
And we put on Gov Deals, 2014 Belch trailer. Belchie, and had a reserve of 10,000, and we got, the highest price was 3,500, so right now, we're not selling anything. I told you to be quick.
Zero bids.
You accept that zero bid?
I'm gonna probably try the Belcher trailer through the paper, see what that does.
Okay,
You're welcome to put anything you want to the sign off.
okay, so he wants, what about the other ones, do you want to run it again on those?
All right.
Okay, so he wants to take sealed bids on the 14.
On the, backhoe trailer,
Yeah, back around.
seal bids.
Yes, sir.
To be in by when?
I hadn't even thought about it.
Next meeting is the 26th, 25th.
Why not that?
If I can get it, today's Tuesday, I can't, I get it in Saturdays.
2 weeks.
Or
First
it would
meeting
be
in December.
December the 9th.
Okay, let's do that, yeah, because since
Do
today's
that,
Tuesday, I
yeah.
can't get it.
Do that.
Accept them, but what's the Friday before that?
Be the 29th when we're closed. No. It will be the 6th, I'm sorry.
Friday, the
6th.
6th.
By 4 p.m.
Friday, that's 12/6.
Yeah.
We're taking off Thursday, Friday.
So accept bids till Friday.
And open on the 9th.
About 10 o'clock.
Okay. And do nothing else on the other two trailer Friday, okay?
It ain't that way.
Okay. I'll get this ready today. and send it over. Okay, thank you.
Okay. With the court's pleasure, let's move into item number 11. Get Rita to give us an update on the memorial project and what's going on and whatever it is you want us to know.
Thank you. Been a while. Good to see you again. I am not the face of NCDM. I'm not really an actual committee member, but I am ad hoc right now. I came back in and Bobby Jo Marufo, who's going to be here with me today, is on the NCDM committee now, and she is heading up a new brick campaign, basically. It's not a new beginning of anything. It's just picking up again. We'll probably have at least a third brick campaign before the end of the calendar year. And of course, try to gear all of it, make sure we'd like to get that middle sidewalk covered. It'd be great if we could get it covered back to Robert Ford, but we'll see. So Bobby and I basically are the brick campaign committee. And we're getting ready to kick off to get forms out. I'm gonna leave some forms to Kate and kind of office. So we're gonna do that. So if somebody once says something about getting the brick, you can say, run by the county clerk's office, they have a form. So, man, we really appreciate that.
The cost of those bricks are,
The cost is gonna stay the same, 75. Bobby and I are working, trying to come up with a few programs whereby we would really like to see where all of our first responders had a brick down there. I'm sure, Sheriff's Office, none of those have funds to do that kind of thing. So we're looking at having a reduced price if they're, a club sponsors the Sheriff's Department, so that everybody's an active first responder in there. Put a brick down there for them, designate that they're with that.
all of our service clubs have a brick.
No, most of them have, now I'm not talking about flats. These are the bricks, yeah, no, none of, we pretty much got, there were flats that all of those put down. And the bricks, they want to get another brick, they can do that. We'll be going to business.
And I remember a very small service club.
That's right.
Yeah.
Where did
I
I
need
Either
to
way
know
to
our
do it.
funds.
How many bricks do you have committed now that need to be laid?
We have 10,
10?
which is, and those, we've had those a year and a half, is one of the reasons on the new guys. You know. We need to get more to make it worthwhile to get it laid down. And Bobby and I figure out, it's probably gonna take about 250 engraved bricks to finish that center sidewalk. We're looking at this campaign, we call it campaign number 2. We wanna sell 125 bricks. But I think it could be so much more than that, and I'd love for it to be that. We realized we're going into Christmas, we started gearing up for doing it for kicking off Veterans Day, and that didn't happen. We had to go through some other steps as far as, we've got a phone number now that, it's a throwaway phone with a phone number that NCVM can keep all the time. So that, I have brick forms here that if you would like to, share with anybody. It has the phone number at the bottom. Bobby Joe will be really the contact at the end of that. We started this with the fact that, her husband is a policeman here on the Rufus in town. It's not a good idea. Mine worked fine when I used it for those years. And,
You got enough?
yeah, I've got enough. And so, that's where we are. We're kind of running behind our own timelines now, but we're looking at kicking it off and getting the publicity going, get it in the newspapers. You'll be hearing it on the radio. We'll have some posters. We'll start putting out some flyers. I think we're going to do a chamber mailing because Lisa Kincaid there told me that you'd be amazed. The return on the mail as opposed to the email is much greater. Because last time we had people tell us, you want to email.
How many do we have that have previously been laid
We have,
without having to go down there?
Yeah.
I figured that out. It's about 120 engraved bricks.
So we're about a third done inside.
Yeah. So it'd be great to get that done by July 4th, completely. But we'll do this, and these forms, you'll notice, say that the deadline for spring installation is December 31st. A lot of people work better on a short deadline. And the main reason too, we order the bricks and then they are, they get in, and then we get with Billy Sullivan as far as his timeline. And he's not crazy about doing it quite like this, which is good too. So we're shooting for the spring to have as many as we can ready to lay, because we can still get the bricks for Infinity. But there's a point where, we've had 10 bricks sitting there because you can't put 10 bricks. We've spread it out a couple of rows. But we want to have them constantly come in and people knowing they can buy bricks. We'll put this in the show. So that phone number's a great one to give out. Anybody want a brick or make copies of that? Anybody wants, I can email a copy of that to anybody that wants it.
Who answers that phone?
Bobby Joe, Morris Five.
What do you think about doing in commissioner's court? I'd be sorry.
I have a thought on Commissioner's Court. We kind of say that the beginning of the sidewalk out there, coming right by Hero, the dog, and you step onto the sidewalk, I think there's a space I had measured before, and we were diverted onto the bigger money to get it done. But you can get 8x8 bricks. We can get those the same, brick, the same place. And it may be that one of those, whether it's something geared to Commissioner's Court, Young County, and so me or Bobby Joe want to get back to y'all before, the orders are finalized.
I think it'd be good for the public to know that this indeed is belongs to the people of Young County.
I do too.
Through the Commissioner's Court it exists. So.
I think, yeah. So I'll work with Bobby Joe and I'll work up some ideas and we'll constantly Judge Fuller. So, last year, a year and a half ago or more, y'all gave us permission to brick as much of the sidewalks as we want, so we're gonna take you at your word, and we're starting small, but this is a 100-year wall, so in 100 years, who knows what the sidewalks, a big deal.
Our grandkids do this.
That's right, that's right. So if you don't have a brick out there, I get interesting stories from people that do put bricks down. A lot of times they said they look at it, it's something, it's gonna be there when it's gone. If it's not, it's gonna be replaced because they don't guarantee them. We did look at local sourcing about somebody coming in and doing bricks. Toby had talked to somebody, and then when I called him, it was going to cost $25. But it was gonna be $25 per brick to be engraved. But we had to go find the source of the bricks, those tiles, that matched this one. And then to make sure they're all the same, but economically, the return on that just was not there. So, this company in Florida, that's all they do. Bricks are us. And they've got it down to a good art.
What's the turnaround time on?
3 weeks.
And you really don't want to change what you already got, so.
Right. And it's not an easy one to find.
Right.
It's a really fine one. Then we've got black bricks. But we do appreciate the support, what a huge project it was, and it's a 100-year project. So if any of you were here at that time, let me know. It has hopeful that it, still a 100-year project.
Fill it up.
That's true.
That's the prayer.
Yeah.
That's the prayer.
Names will come fewer in the future.
And maybe when people look at that blank spots on the wall, they'll know how easy it is to let it go. So, we appreciate it. Any questions?
Oh, we'll do whatever the court can do. Agree.
And I did not want any surprise from here when you said, there's still some bricks or whatever. Y'all are pretty much the first to know. So Toby came by, and of course he had to go to court. Bobby's work called her back in. So, since I'm a retired one, you may see me at those times. You may see, hopefully, some of this Bobby does. Thank y'all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Nick, Sheriff, we want to get y'all
All right. Nothing really exciting on the jail part of it today. We have 61 in jail right now today.
Those population numbers are staying pretty steady.
They are.
We had an influx, we were up to 74 last week, but we've been able to transfer.
Where'd they go? Transport?
Some of them went out, some of them
Someone get their time got out.
Some of them were probated.
This inmate in South County is that one that's.
Yes. Probably about 4 more weeks, and we should have some.
We did bring that up at the meeting Thursday, mental health issues.
Mental health issues?
Yeah.
All the representatives can say that, but.
Yeah, they didn't have a lot to say about it.
No, I don't know.
Spending our money for us.
Good.
We didn't change anything. Not yet. It's not from trying. We're really not gonna find, money-wise, a better deal anyway.
Is what it is.
Yeah.
Other than early on.
Apparently, we can't do that. Really? What Mitch does.
Mitch probably right. Maybe
I can't believe you said it was suspicious.
Yeah, that's something else I was doing. We had another one on November the first, drug seizure that we, it was, November the first, so it won't be on this one. It was over 10, oh, no, it was 1 ounce. So it's a little over 28 grams of cocaine. Coming from the Metroplex going to.
Party season, isn't it?
Yeah.
We got a 911 14.
I think drugs move a little more during the holiday season. Maybe not.
Never know. Our fires were up a little bit. Even with the burn ban, we still had people burning stuff. Get down.
Without it? Without it?
With the burn ban on.
When the burn ban was on.
They were burning.
Good. Notice they were out this weekend checking out fires too, even with burn ban off.
Right.
Hope they're reminding people you probably should call before you do this.
79 silver papers. Yes, sir. Three forensic interviews this last month. We've already beat that this month already. And one's too many.
Yes, it is.
Seven drug arrests with 3 of them due to the dogs. Livestock complaints are still up high.
Well, that is high for livestock complaints.
That's a lot.
You still have trouble on that 1769?
I can't remember, Jimmy, if it's over there or wherever.
Larry
I
Ward?
think so.
Larry
No, well, maybe.
Yeah, right there by the bridge.
Yeah.
Larry Ward.
I see it there.
Larry Ward.
You didn't lease that, go to South Texas.
You're going right, that's different Larry Ward. This is Larry Ward that we're talking about.
You're talking between 380 and 114, right?
Well, it's right there on 1769, that's the Ward market.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right there by Russell Creek Bridge.
I seen them out there on 380 and 114. I shoved them back in.
On 1769. June.
Well, that 1769 goes
All the way.
north of 114, all the way to 16.
Go through Farmer,
Yeah.
1652 stops.
so it's that section 1769, isn't it?
Yeah.
Other than that, it's just really
Common stuff.
typical life.
Sunday evening, I had, reported deer versus vehicle on 16 right there north of Markley, and then about 5 minutes later, one out here right over the pond there.
Yeah, on my daughter hit it.
I know.
Oh, I rose.
In the 30 years that I was in the insurance business, north of Markley to 281 was the most significant animal collision area. that I had lots of them.
I believe that. There's always.
And you know, it's not just
I guess that's
deer,
deer
it's
is
not
all.
just turkey.
Yeah.
That one lady that was dispatcher for him for a while was paralyzed right there at downtown.
Yeah.
Dogs and coons.
Yes. Animals crossed of all kinds.
351
Years.
out of the, Oak and Gale. One of my deputies hit a deer. That stuff is
Newcastle, Almond on 251. Did you see them?
All these names for the bucks get stupid this time of year.
They don't care about
They don't care. They don't care. Anyway, the names look good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Can't tell me care what he said, you're doing it.
I tried. We still love him, man.
You know, I aim to hit the target, I aim to please, I just don't want to hit the target.
There we go.
You didn't have anything to do with that.
Item number four, consider county clerk minutes for previous meeting, November 4th, 2019. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions?
So moved.
Wiley. Is there a second? Roger. To approve the minutes as presented, all in favor? Carried 5-0. Okay, item number 5. Consider treasurer's financial report and update. We got anything to?
Not yet, we just
Consider
finished
that
up
little gentleman
19,
now?
so we'll be able to do those now.
$4,750,000.
There's the
961,
security
86.
All the pledges in good order. Getting in lots of tax money.
Not yet. But we did get a nice sales tax, I think it was 117,000.
Okay, we've got a motion from Commissioner Wiley, second by Pruitt. To approve security pledges as presented, all in favor? Carried 5-0. Item number 6, consider offer budget amendments and vouchers payable.
Like Ann said, I hope this is the end of 19, because Edwin said that the work's done in 19, the bill's in 19, you pay it out in 19, but by this time, I should have had all the 19s. So this is the last payment for 19, $82,060.26. And out of the general is $8,951.01.
So moved.
Wiley, Rogers, motion and the second to approve the FY19 vouchers payable, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. All in favor? Carried 5-0.
And then we're always gonna have 20 for a while, and lots of them. Today's out of the fiscal year 20 budget is $90,765.80. And out of the general is $57,043.43.
57,043.
Yes, sir.
So moved.
It's kind of confusing.
Did you do that on purpose?
Yes, I did that on purpose.
She wanted to
Did you
read around.
transfer that money to
Second.
precinct 4?
No, I'm gonna run the check.
She really wanted to write ain't on him,
Oh, I know, he reminded me, I said, I know. Yeah, I told Dan I was gonna do that, so.
Okay, same way?
Wow, Pruitt.
Pruitt.
Write the check.
All in favor?
That's right.
Carried 5-0. Okay, item number 7 is discuss, consider employee bond, that'd be Larry E. Downey, Young County Community Supervision, actually that's probably not even judicial district community supervision.
Adult program.
Yeah.
So moved.
Wiley?
Second.
Pruitt? All in favor? Carried 5. consider extension agent's October report, request for reimbursement. That would be Penny Barron, with $526.19, and Savannah Williams, $704.98.
I move we approve those requests for reimbursement as presented.
Second. How's Savannah feeling? How's she fits
She's
in?
doing well. She's not there a lot. I mean, she's doing a lot. She's on the move. When she's there, she seems to be real busy. I noticed her supervisor Dale Dunlap and what's his name? Anyway, director of programs.
Yes.
For her was there. Remember his last name? Sorry. Anyway, they seem to be happy with the progress that she's making. We obviously knew that she is embarking on a more complicated portion of her career with the extension office, and she seems to be doing a really good job. Obviously, she has a success under her belt from this last judging contest, and I'm sure that'll be a good measure of what goes on with her so far as those continuation of those successes will be concerned. So I think she's doing a great job. Good.
All in favor of, or all in favor of approving the requests? 5-0. Okay, we've got that one done. We're down to burn restrictions, no action.
How did the bond car go?
It went well. I just talked to the chief, fire chief, and only Saturday afternoon, he thought everything was on. We went out there, and I guess he went ahead and went on without a hitch, because I didn't hear nothing about it.
Worked out. That was a real still wind day too, and it all worked out real well.
There's some washer before.
Did they get their check?
Yeah. You got the check sometime Friday, I think.
Good.
All worked out.
Anybody else think we'll put that back on?
You know, we got that good rain, but that cold wind sure did dry things out a lot quicker. So, I don't know. What's it like over through?
Oh, you spent most time out there, but it was miserable. Absolutely
And
miserable.
it was a cold, dry wind too. Squeeze a little moisture was out of the air, but.
It did snow a little bit here.
Yeah.
Blew in through about 7 o'clock. 7 a.m.
It's
Keep
59
things
degrees.
tied down, if anything outside.
They dropped the temperature 10 degrees in 15 minutes. It's cold. Got cold all day long.
Think we'll put it back on?
Probably ought to.
Then, you'll be
I'm
proponent.
not sorry for it.
You know, we'll
I'm not a
not.
component for it.
Stacy, you're doing one that's lots to say about the burn ban, what do you think?
Don, the fire department went out there and stood around.
Yeah, I don't know if they actually gonna send the truck out there or not.
They sent one truck at least.
Is that
They went out there and looked at it, I talked to them before you, they looked at it, thought everything was good. I just, when he said he was going to donate, I figured one of the participants in the service or memorial was probably gonna be a fireman, and we'd be out there anyway, and just have a truck with them, so.
I don't know who it was, but I noticed one pickup was there and one of the fire bays was open and the truck was gone. I think it was just that water truck,
Yeah.
but I just happened to be down there and wondered why.
We got
it didn't page.
2¼ and 2.5 inches, everything's. The fire chief told me, he said, looked like some of these taller weeds and grass in our area is kind of getting watered down already with those freezes that we had. So it's not as much of a fire hazard, in his opinion, as it was, as it has been. Things are greening up somewhat. Still pretty wet.
Winter grass starting to come up?
I guess I'll think a little, but Greenway's still green.
Well, a lot of room.
Maybe not every day, maybe never 17 or 19 days.
I've never seen this many broom wings in my life.
Well, it always does after a big rain like that, it always follows.
Okay. Item number 13, Lauren, will for
Wait a minute, what are we
yesterday.
doing?
It's no action.
What did we do?
What?
No action.
There's no action.
I didn't hear anything, so.
I was waiting, hey.
There was a discussion both ways, so.
I know, maybe y'all,
The gavel got it.
Did Proposition 1 surprise you?
Standing here.
Proposition 1?
I didn't hear.
No, it really surprised me. I thought it was.
Yeah, number one was the only one that voted.
And I guess it did statewide, didn't it?
Yes,
Number 1?
yes.
But we run pretty close to what state.
With varying degrees of
75% here on Prop 4.
Yes.
Or JP's organization, probably, again, man.
Have I been itemized and introduced? Are you ready for me to do my thing?
Good.
Okay. 2,300 votes. Blew my predictions out of the water.
You predict almost 20%?
My prediction was like 6% turnout, and we ended with 19.92%.
That's excellent.
It was nuts.
20%.
It was absolutely.
It all happened on election day?
All of it happened on
Just
election
a whole
day.
bunch of it did.
1,349 people checked in on election day.
That's how you were redirecting traffic down to other polling places.
I was fixing to start redirecting down to Loving. It was getting crazy. We never didn't have a 10-minute line at NCTC from the minute we opened till the minute we closed. We never had a break. They didn't stop to eat lunch. I mean, they were just constant all day long.
So how many did you run through that day?
1349.
And you were open for how long?
We were open for 12 hours. So we were,
77.
yeah, we were doing over 100 people an hour across the county. Loving had 60 check-ins, Newcastle had 84. I don't think I have the other numbers off the top of my head.
100 people an hour, that's
Oh, yeah, it was nuts.
45, 50 seconds of the vote.
But from what I was hearing around the area, I talked to several EAs in the area, and we were all underprepared for the amount of turnout. Because generally, my algorithm says that the 550 people we checked in during early voting is about what we'll do on election day.
Yeah,
Nobody wanted property taxes. Why?
Well, but no, you would be amazed at how few undervotes there were. People were voting the entire ballot.
really.
Yeah, I mean, it just, nothing about this election was normal. I was really quite surprised by most of it.
Precinct 5 and precinct 22 really
Well, they're,
show a lot of people.
they're huge precincts too. I mean, those are, yeah. 22 has 3,200 voters, 5 has 3,000, so yeah, those are your big precincts anyway. 23 has 2,100, so, and then 24's got 2,000, you know, it's, anyway, so we had a crazy big turnout. I'm really, I'm very pleased that people exceeded my expectations.
These small rural precincts come out voting pretty well.
Yeah, they do. And I'll be real honest, number 10, number 6, and number 7, lots of those folks vote. I mean, you're looking at 20 to 30% turnout just in those places for a constitutional amendment, you know, come next
Which is
year.
historically a low voter turnout.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the only times, and I went back and looked, about 6 years worth of history. The only times we've had anywhere near this kind of turnout is when there was another something on the ballot. The jail bond, the Newcastle city tax that they increased a couple of years ago. That's where we see bigger turnout. It's not for just the 10 amendments that are on the ballot. So for this one to have this much turnout really was quite abnormal.
I imagine the income tax thing had a good.
It did. But like I said, they were coming in and voting the whole 10 question ballot, so.
Even though I don't think it was put on there exactly, it didn't explain it just exactly proper.
But
They were
explained
very
Thursday.
specific.
They explained Thursday why it was worded, so.
Yeah, it's very specific.
There was a couple there from TAC that were against it, or from Texas Agri. Peter Gill was against it because of the way it was worded. In fact, the franchise tax was, he thought either excluded or not, affecting business taxation. Obviously, they had enough. And the fact that it was four, Pat Fallon said it was real easy to promote because of that reason.
Placement on the ballot.
Four.
Yeah, so, we had about 2/3 of the absentee ballots come back to us good. That's a really good number there too. We spent a long time election night doing reports that had never been asked of us before. I was here till 9:45, and that's the first time I've ever stayed past 9 o'clock. But it was, the state's redone a lot of their reporting after the legislature met, and we're having to enter in voting history by midnight on election night. All of those ballot by mails had to be hand entered, so it took a long time. Had a good conversation with the Deputy Secretary of State the next day and relayed some of that to him. The Secretary of State will be here next month to meet with the EAs in the region. So we're gearing up to visit with her about some of the challenges that this election faced. We were also reporting every night the voters who voted that day for a public report that was available on the state's website. Just a lot of new requirements that we weren't necessarily advised very clearly with. We got advisories, but sometimes they're a little murky.
Additional work that you didn't necessarily have to do.
Right. Oh, yeah, we've never done any of that part before.
Say that again, what had to be hand entered, the early?
The ballot by mail,
Ballot by mail.
I had to hand enter whose ballots were accepted. So I had to go in and type in the voter number and show that their ballot had been accepted.
Do you start that at 7 o'clock?
As soon as the ballot board has decided which ones are accepted and which are rejected, I can start in. But that's also the same time that they wanted us to have early voting results reported to the state by 7:30. I'll be real honest, that didn't happen. It didn't happen until after 8:15 because as soon as I got early votes tallied, I had Shirley coming in with equipment, I had Norman coming in with equipment, and I didn't have time.
Now, when you say hand enter, you enter.
Type in the 10-digit voter number for 400 and some odd people.
But you don't say for or against?
No.
Okay.
No, now I did have to recreate a stack of ballots this time because people were writing all over them. And when they do that, the scanner won't accept it. And so I think I manually entered about 28 ballots on election night, which is.
You can't accept or reject till after the close of votes.
I can't accept or reject until after the ballot board has met. And generally, I run them to where they finish right before 7, so that I can then turn them into my central count board, and they can start helping me count the election day ballots.
Lauren, did this election increase the number of registered voters at all?
We've been steady, within about 300 for as long as I can find history. We haven't increased, voter numbers significantly for many years.
So how do you steer our next election?
Jimmy and I talked, I'm gonna need a truck to deliver all these machines. It's gonna be a big deal. It's gonna be a big deal. At NCTC and Methodist, I will have 2 check-in stations, so it will be like 2 separate polling places. We did this during the 16 elections, I believe, the 18s as well. We'll obviously be in the bigger rooms. Depending on what I kind of can suss out from Olney, I may do similar over there as well. I may have 2 check-in stations there. But it'll all be within the same polling place. I won't have 2 separate polling places, I'll just have 2 separate lines in one
Do you
place.
think there'll be more voting machines in action than ever?
There will be a lot of machines in action, yeah. Now, I'm gonna tell you, there's gonna be lines, and there's no way to avoid it. We do have extra machines for presidentials, but I could deploy 300 and we'd still, you know, need to.
Can you give us some information on what happened down in Harris County with that EA down
I don't have any in Harris County.
there? No?
No, I have a county clerk.
Okay.
Right?
She somehow got,
Because they have a brand new county clerk.
she somehow got vote counts on the machines that were tied to the internet somehow?
I don't know. Harris County's never had any yet. They had Stan Stanner that was running elections,
They got,
and yeah, he got kicked out during the last
This was
election.
a lady
and
that,
that's all.
Yeah, she's brand new, and I haven't met her, I don't know anything about it, I haven't,
They got 2 brand new clerks.
yeah.
What do you guys think about getting a trailer? If it's shelving in there, we can put all those machines in that trailer.
store them in a truck.
Well,
Well, you can't store them there.
you can't
No.
store
It's gotta
them
be
there,
climate controlled.
but if you took them and distributed them out of amongst them, then you went back and picked them all up.
I don't think
Are
we
you,
can do it.
are you taking them on, or are you personally delivering them?
I am personally delivering them, and when I delivered, I tried to do it in one swoop, so I don't have to charge mileage to come back and forth. So I did NCTC, came back and got my car reloaded, went to Methodist, came back and reloaded with Olney, Loving, and Newcastle. And I'll be real honest, I had this much room in my car to sit. I had a cone right here, I couldn't have fit anything else in there, not another thing.
That's probably one good reason why we need a county vehicle.
I'll be real honest, I need something.
Oh, that's there.
It's theirs. I mean, that's,
It doesn't belong to Young County.
Letter, but I don't imagine.
I mean, a Suburban,
Suburban would be great.
you know, I'll be real honest, I'm not crazy about driving a trailer. Number one, I don't know how. Number two, we saw how I did with a vehicle I wasn't real comfortable with.
Wasn't gonna be.
We
Cheryl.
I'll pull that trailer.
Everyone back and forth with their vehicles, running special errands and things. We have people going to the mailbox every day, the post office. We've got people just like this, Lauren, that needs space.
Because I can't afford a bigger car right now, I mean, a personal vehicle.
Take these loading machines, which
Well.
are valuable and to some degree, I would guess I'd say fragile,
Yeah.
need to be cared for.
And I'm not comfortable giving, not because I can't do it, I'm not comfortable letting the poll workers set up, because a lot of them are getting to the point where they can't tear them down and bring them back. I wish Travis was still here. John Orr came in on election night and helped Shirley and them tear down NCTC, and then he helped Norman bring in all the stuff from Methodist. The deputies have been helping here at the courthouse get machines back in. I don't like a lot of other people touching the voting machines. I get real protective when they have votes on them because of news stories. So,
You see, that's my point right there. If we had the trailer, the deputies have a truck.
yeah, I mean, they can
That would
help.
be a perfect way to be able to distribute them out and take them back.
Expensive be less.
And then put some shelves, some like
Shelves.
foam shelves in there or
Fix
something.
the shelves in there where they're placed in order, a place for your cones, a place for your shades, the whole 9 yards. If you do that, I think, because I've done helped unload out of a vehicle before, and it's just,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, now, election night is different as far as picking up, you know, because those election judges are supposed to be bringing in at least the controller and all the paperwork. So they're responsible for bringing in the ballot box, just like they always have been. Now, the voting machines themselves, they're kind of just there. They go back, you know, all the information goes back to that controller. You know, we can make a lot of things work. We've obviously made this work for 6 years now. But I'm gonna need something in order to deliver.
There's a good argument for a county vehicle.
Of some sort.
Available to those who need it at some particular time, office holders, anybody.
Yeah.
Somebody would be good. So,
You know, a bunch of people.
What, yeah, I mean, as long as the seats lay down and I can put machines in it, you know, whether it's a trailer or a Suburban or a Mack truck, I really don't care. But I can't, I mean, I could make several trips back and forth across the county to deploy machines, and that, at this point today, is what I'll be looking at for doing it primary.
Doesn't need to be a vehicle that's specialized,
Nah.
it needs to be a general vehicle that can be utilized for whatever the need.
Well, or, you know, if we found a decent sized pickup that we could put a bed cover on, so that if we had to be out in the weather with some of those machines, I could cover them up, you know, just,
Got a van, you got trailers, so vans and motorized trailers.
yeah, I mean, just, like I said, I'm not lobbying for one thing over another, I'm just saying, my poor little car's maxed out. I even took pictures because I was that enclosed in my Suburban or something.
Six passenger Suburban, or Jeep Excursion, or whatever the Suburban type vehicles are.
I don't know if the Tahoe's are big enough.
Ford's not.
Tahoe's probably not big enough.
I guess.
Is it? I will be real honest, when I go and buy a personal vehicle, from now on, as long as I'm employed by the county, I'll probably take some, or I'll probably bring it up here and try to load some machines in it and see how many it'll hold. Because, I mean, I'm just using my car for that kind of thing so much. This car holds more than my last car, but like I said, I'm still 2 or 3 years out from buying another vehicle, so. Is what it is. All right.
Yeah, I believe the next, this primary election is
Yeah.
going to draw a good bid in November.
The other thing we may talk about
Won't be lying.
going forward is how to get folks to help break down the machines, because my poll workers, just like the rest of us, aren't getting any younger, and those machines are heavy. And if you have to haul them across whatever parking lot or yard you're walking across, they're pretty heavy. So, we've been blessed that the deputies and Marcia and Cheryl and Tommy have gone out and helped break down some of them, but it looks like I'm probably gonna have to find somebody on the only side that can break down and at least load them up to bring them back in on election night, so.
That's why I think we're one person would drive to pick up the trailer and that other stuff to do,
Yeah.
you know.
As long as,
I just worry about a trailer sometimes with operator errors. I'm not mentioning any names.
I wouldn't go to Dairy Queen on election night.
Say never.
I said I wouldn't. Mostly because I'm too busy to do anything on election night. You're welcome.
He would.
I did bring it up. Okay, so you canvassed the election, I assume?
It's canceled.
I move that we find that the results of the change of the constitutional amendment elections to be valid and accurate.
I'll second.
It was quite strange on this election too. We had at least 3 people come from outside the county to vote in Young County, which, by the way, doesn't work. We had a couple from Lubbock and one from down near Valley Mills that was here on a hunting trip, and they decided they needed to vote on election day, and so they came and voted provisionally, and
Anywhere voting precincts doesn't work if you don't live in this county.
yeah, I mean, it was just, we saw it a lot during the
I
last
certainly think about doing
presidential.
it though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I was glad they came, but.
At least
I
there
wish-
wasn't dead people voting.
Well, no, we didn't have any dead ones. But yeah, it was kind of strange that they were all so wound up that they needed to come in to
How long
vote.
did it take you to tabulate final counts on election day?
All in favor of that motion?
I was uploading results by 8:15, and then I found out I had to hand in or whatever.
Nobody would have to report that.
Reports were done by 8:15.
Get that.
So they just notified me of the amount of materials that we
All
have.
right, thank
Is that the
you.
highway department?
That's the one I'm doing.
That's their grant
And
money.
I just sent in
Okay, 16,954.
So this is the request for.
4250 for each precinct. Cool.
I think we
We'll go get some wrap. Anybody want to give you wrap?
Rat?
So I just set that thing on in with
Set them a date.
with the allocation.
When they say
had. March 14th. Specifying kind of material. Electrical building.
What's the time period on this? When does it start?
Okay. Fiscal.
I asked him, he said last night, Tuesday, about it, he said they, but they're up in the air.
With October 1st to September 30th.
That's just what allocation that they gave the district and how much money each county or how, what the value of the material was for each county.
Which all, they should be getting more than what they're getting, but they're not.
Wow, that is crazy, isn't it?
But this is down from what it used to be. It used to be up there closer to 19.
Yeah, we had almost $20,000.
Yeah.
Cooking money, you.
Yeah, well, Brockport, that's a pretty good sized chunk of change for this.
So this doesn't have anything to do with the lack of vote, or just scripture, and surplus material.
We still get
Legislation.
5,000 on that deal.
On the lateral road report.
We get last year's this year.
This year's last year.
This year's last year?
Something like that.
We have money on the table last year. That tells me.
We left it on the table? Yes, we did. Matter of fact, that's the thing.
He said they gave it to,
That's what I'm saying. They'll give it to somebody else. And the other thing they won't do anymore is they won't give us any more rock.
they won't give us any rock.
No rock.
What if we request more than our 16,000?
Only way that happens is if it does like the other counties, if there's other counties that didn't use theirs, you can siphon out theirs.